Welcome everyone here to Kovo Film Studios, where we chat about weddings, events, photography, videography. Today we got another great guest here. She's a makeup artist. She's been in the industry for quite some time now, and we're excited to hear what she got to share with us today. Susy, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Thank you. We're excited to have you here, see what you're going to share with us. You know, I'm sure a lot of people are, definitely want to hear what it's like, being a makeup artist, working in the makeup artist industry within weddings, events. So that's why, whole idea creating this podcast to, get that information out there, people to, and I know you mentioned that you were excited to share share what you have to say, and hopefully some of these questions could, lead up to some of the things that you've been wanting to say.
Of course, I feel super honored that you even thought of me to invite me.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Susy. So let's start from the beginning.
Yes.
Where did you get started? Where did you grow up?
So my name is Susy, and I was actually born and raised in Jalisco, Mexico, from a super small town called San Miguel el Alto.
Mm-hmm.
And I came here when I was 12. And I was very, very insecure growing up. And I feel that's how I started with the whole makeup idea, playing with makeup. And I loved how it made me feel from the inside. I almost felt like when I would wear makeup, I just felt like a different person. Like it just gave me this confidence that I didn't have if I wasn't wearing the makeup.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I was 12, like I said, I came here and I started middle school and high school, and I was always the girl that everybody would come to for hair and makeup. And when I graduated high school, I started doing cosmetology. And this was 15 years ago. And that's when I started in the beauty industry doing hair and makeup. And after a few years, I realized makeup, it's really not where my passion was. And I've been doing makeup since then for 15 years now.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
you started very young. So was this in Mexico or once you got here?
So I came here when I was 12. And then when I graduated high school, when I was 17, 18, that's when I started cosmetology.
Yeah.
And I graduated a year after. So actually taking paying clients was after I graduated from cosmetology. But I can honestly say that I've been doing clients or people since I could remember in middle school and high school just for free.
Yeah. No, so that's what I was referring to. So
Yes.
It seems like, so you kind of just started growing, a passion for just growing to wanting to do it once you got here or before you came to from Mexico?
I think I've always loved makeup since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
But my passion where I thought like I can actually pursue a career out of this was when I graduated high school.
Okay.
That was my moment where I was like, where I don't know where I want to go to school or college.
Yeah.
So let me just try cosmetology and see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
Do it on the side while I go to college and get a real career, because I thought, very naive back then, that I couldn't make a career out of makeup.
Yeah.
And here I am 15 years later.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know if it's a Hispanic thing or just like almost like a lot of the things that seem so easy, like that makeup, video, photography, people don't take it as serious. They don't feel like they can make a whole lot of money. And I don't think I did.
Yes.
There was really money into our parents. Go be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a policeman, a nurse, whoever it is, and not to say those are not great careers.
Absolutely.
But, it's just like sometimes we just want to try out a different route and look, and it worked out for you and it worked out for me. And here we are.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So where do you, so you started, when cosmetology school, and when did you feel like you went in it like full time?
So I started freelancing right away as soon as I started cosmetology, started taking paying clients, but I always did it on the side. So I would always have my full-time job, like a real job, so I thought, and then on the weekends, that's where I would do my makeup.
Yeah.
And when I became a mom 5 years ago, that's when I decided to go full force and, think for myself, okay, I don't want to go back to work full-time because I want to stay home with my babies. So it was my opportunity to just believe in myself, like trust in me that I had the talent and the passion to make it my full time. And my only regret is not doing it sooner, because I've been freelancing for 15 years. But I would say for the last 5 years, it's when my career really took off, and it just got to another level where I thought I lost, or not I lost, because you learned everything, it's a lesson, but because I didn't believe that I could make out of my creative
Yeah.
side a career. I quote unquote lost 10 years of my life
Yeah.
working for someone else. In my mind now, as a more mature woman, I feel like I was making someone else's dream
Yeah.
come true when I could have worked on my own dream those 10
Yeah.
years. But at least I did have my breakthrough, you know. I became a mom, and that was a little push I needed to
Yeah.
believe in myself and know that, you know, I can do it. And I did it. And I proved not anyone, because I'm not here to prove like nobody
Yeah.
wrong, but it's like proving me that I can make out of my dream, like I can just, you know.
So I'm assuming you probably didn't like know anybody like within your circle that was doing very well in the makeup industry.
Mm-hmm,
Is that what you think? I feel like sometimes it's almost like we feel like might need like that role model in that industry or around that industry. Like, wow, like you could really make something out of this. And I mean, I could relate to that. I didn't find video until I was a lot older, till I was 29 years old. But I could totally see that if I pursued it a lot younger, I could see myself where like, well, I don't know if this is really the right path. Maybe because I was pursuing law enforcement before I pursue what I did. And I could totally see being on that path that you just explained on you know, on makeup and not really believing in yourself and not seeing as something serious. But, you know, I think age just kind of makes us create, I don't know what, just triggers something like, hey, like we could make this happen.
I agree.
What were you doing working part-time? Like you said you
So
did
I
a
would
real
actually
job.
work full time. So I would work full time for the most part, like Monday through Friday. And then I would block Saturdays and Sundays to do my weddings or my events. So I was working full time on my real job and then part time
And
with my freelancing.
what was your real job?
I did it all. I did a lot of retail. Then for about 4 or 5 years, I worked at makeup schools where I was doing admissions.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was working for a makeup company where I was doing product development for them for about 3 years. And that was my last job before I went full force with.
And did you ever do like the Mac at the malls and any of that?
I didn't. So let me tell you, this is a good one. I feel like a lot of people could relate. So I came here when I was 12 and I came in with a visa and it expired when I was 15. So after I was 15, I was in a situation where a lot of people cannot go back, cannot get a real job. I was pretty stuck. Like the opportunities that I had were very, very limited. So I couldn't get a job at Mac. Like that was my dream. Like everybody would ask like, why don't you work for Mac? Why don't you work for Mac? And I always came up with different excuses as to why I didn't work for Mac.
But
because
you really knew why.
Of course, yeah. And I feel like that's another reason why I was very self-conscious or just limited in the stuff that I could truly do.
Yeah.
And, you know, so then I was never able to work for a counter or any stuff like that, which I would have loved. Up to this day, I love Mac. They care so much about education and stuff like that. But hey, that's what gave me the push to keep just freelancing and make a business out of what I thought was going to be just my little side hustle. Like, I just love being a creative. I love doing makeup. I love making people feel good. How can I turn that passion into my full-time career?
Yeah.
And
did you do like a lot of workshops and certification programs and stuff like that? Or
so I did cosmetology, like I said, straight out of high school. And then a few years after, I went to Orange Coast College for a makeup artistry course. So I am makeup certified. And then I also have my cosmetology diploma. I couldn't get a license because, again, the whole status situation. I couldn't work at a salon. So I was forced to freelance.
Yeah.
So then I did cosmetology and makeup school, and that's what I did. And I still continue to take like master classes or just classes that other like fellow makeup artists offer online, either in person or just online.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you say like some of these like makeup classes? I guess like anything, right? There's the good makeup artist schools, or there's good instructors, bad instructors. Like based on like you being in the industry, would you say that kind of has to do a lot with how great of a makeup artist, or you feel like it's just within you on how great, like obviously the education wise from these classes? What would you say on that?
So I always say that there's no right or wrong way of doing makeup, because at the end of the day, the way I see it, it's art. And there's no wrong way of doing art, because it's all subjective. What I may find beautiful, you may not, or vice versa. And I always feel that there's a certain type of art for a certain type of client.
Yeah.
So you just got to find your client. So back to like the instructors being good or bad, I don't necessarily think they're either or. I just think they create art different. Like I may not find it beautiful or per se that it would serve my type of clientele, but I still appreciate the art. And I feel like you can always learn from fellow artists. Like sometimes as a creative, I feel like you lose your creative kind of like juices, and you get a creative block or feel burned out. So when you see a fellow artist like doing their thing, you get inspired and you want to create again. So I love taking classes.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. I'm definitely always love being a student and learning new things. So I think that's the way to kind of stay on top of your business and just keep your A game on everything that we do.
Yeah.
What was it like working like for your first client? And obviously first paying client, because you mentioned you worked a lot, friends, family, things like that. But what was it like working for your first paying client?
I was so nervous, extremely nervous. The first wedding that I did, I think I was like 19, 18, and I couldn't sleep the whole night because I kept thinking like, what if they don't like it? What if I don't do a good job? I was just I was so young. I was 19. But I just showed up and did my best. And I've always said, even if you don't end up happy with your work, as long as you know you gave your 100%, just look back on what you did. I always take videos or photos of what I did and kind of analyze, like, where could I have done better? Where can I do better for next time? So it kind of hurts at that moment where you're like, man, like I could have done so much better, but it's room for like, I can improve, next time I'll just do better.
I think I'm the same with my work. Do you just look at all the work and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
I make myself cringe.
I'm like that with my video work. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I used to do that. But okay,
But you know what? It's because you know what I mean? Like, so you're so critical, and because you care about your work. So you're like, I could have done so much better on the lighting. I could have done so much better on the posing. But I don't do video. Like, I don't know. Like, you're the one that knows. Maybe like our clients don't know. And I'm like, I could have done so much better. But it's because we care.
Yeah. No, only we know. That's the good thing,
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah, definitely. I love that answer. Thank you.
Of course.
When you said, so you feel like your breakthrough through the industry was after you said you had kids and you kind of just went at it full force. Would you say that's your breakthrough? How long was that? Like, do you feel like you didn't go at it full time, right? Or did you?
I kind of did, because when I was working my full-time job and then freelancing, I really only had those weekends to focus on my weddings. But during the week, I was super focused in my other job. So when I say I went full force, it's like instead of, doing nothing at home during the week. I mean, I was doing a lot because I'm a mom. But I had more time to post content, to market myself, to just throw myself out there and my business out there so that people can see what I do. And I feel like the more weddings that I landed, the more clients that I did, it's a lot of word of mouth and
and it just kind of kept growing
it was
there.
a snowball effect. And like I said, my only regret is not doing it sooner, because I just noticed that when I gave it my all, the results kind of started coming in. And I mean, it does take a lot of patience and persistence, and it's not going to happen overnight. But I had already worked 10 years per se, like building this little momentum of like, all I needed was that explosion after becoming a mom.
Yeah. And I'm sure, was it challenging? It's almost like what I've seen with other videographers, photographers, is that they might have been working a long time for like a different company, and they want to approach it on their own, and they have maybe these high prices or just set prices, and maybe that's what they're really valued, but maybe they just haven't created credibility within the industry, like building clients and stuff like that. Would you say that when you started charging, was that what you wanted to charge and you were getting paid for it, or do you feel like you kind of had a lower rate and kind of just to get started and get your foot in the door? Or how was your pricing when you first started?
So when I started 15 years ago, it was very low. But then again, we were talking about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But I remember when they would come to me, it was $25. And I would go to them for $30. And I wouldn't charge a travel fee. I wouldn't charge more for brides. It was just very simple. $25 if you come to me, $30 if I went to you. And I did a lot of free work because I love being a creative.
Yeah.
So I would do a lot of collaborations with photographers, videographers, just coming together to create art, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to grow. And I've always said that as a creative, I need you, the videographer, and the photographer as much as you need me. And I need the hairstylist. Like, we all need each other. So, it was very low when I started, and for years I would raise it $5 every year. So you can only imagine how long it took me. It took me like 5 years to get it to $50. And even then, people would still ask for a discount, or if it's $5, how much? Like, it was really bad. But because I loved what I did, it almost felt like, oh my gosh, they're paying me to do this, and I love it. Too. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And I had a lot of people tell me, like, you're so good, charge more. And we go back to me not trusting in myself and my work and my worth. So I think that when the breakthrough happened of like, I'm going to go full force, that's when I was like, okay, I got to flip a switch, value my work, value my art, and value my time, because I'm leaving my kids behind, and I have two, and I'm paying a nanny to watch my kids. And there's so much behind the scenes that goes into it, that it just has to make sense financially. And I feel like my kids really gave me that different perspective on things, where like my time, it's valuable. And I have all these under my belt, you know, so many classes, so many years. Now I want to make a career out of it. I want to make a business. And I always say you have to add up everything you invested, money-wise, time-wise, and you have to make a profit. Otherwise, you're not running a business. You're just doing like community service. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, you know what? I could totally relate to what you just said. You know, I'm a new dad, and I just value my time even way more now. And I have a partner too that just like I love, you know, spending time with my family. And,
of course.
And then if it doesn't make sense in the sense of what I want to get paid, like I'm not gonna make the sacrifice. And I guess sometimes these startup companies like, hey, you know, I'm just starting up, but it's like, I'm not a startup company no more either. And my time is valuable, and some clients might get offended, but they just don't. But
they're not your client.
Yeah, well, they're not my client. They want to be my client.
If they get offended, they're not your client.
So that's definitely a challenge that I love helping people out, but at the same time, it's just my time is too valuable to just give it away like that, unless it's for some reason I feel very giving that moment, or that person I want to help them out, and but other than that, you know, that makes total sense. You know?
And I always say, like, when you're starting out, you gotta be humble and know where you are in your career. So I started with $25, and I did a lot of free work. So if truly what you want is to like grow and build a network and make connections, which are super important, do the work for free, work for a little bit, you know, until it feels like, okay, I can charge a little more. But it has to come a point where like it just has to make sense financially, and you have to raise your prices. Yeah.
You know what, you talking about you with the video photography and makeup artist. I've done, actually, going back 5-6 years ago, I did something like that where we found a friend and his wife that we just like pretend, hey, can you help us out with this? You know, just pretend like married shoot, you know. We got them, we paid for the makeup artist, we found the location, we shot it, and we just, you know, promoted it like we just did that wedding, you know.
Exactly.
And that's how I did a lot of the things that helped me grow. You know, people don't know really if that the couple got married or not. They just see the work, and I'm like, well, that's great work.
Exactly.
So the type of things that I had to do in order to grow as well. What habits that you feel like you developed early on that kind of grew your business, what do you say are like you really hard on yourself? What are those key things that you feel like grew your business?
So I feel that, to me, I've always been about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
So I do take my time with each client. it's always been a mission of mine for them not to feel like just a number on my chair, like get in and get out, like let me make more money. I've always been about let me take my time with you so that you feel special, so that you feel beautiful. And I don't care if I can only accommodate 4 or 5 services per wedding as opposed to 10, just to get 10 and make more money. To me, it's so much more rewarding to have 5 happy people that maybe I'll make way less, but I'll go home like super happy. And I feel that clients truly appreciate that. Like, I truly care about my clients. Like, sometimes I go home and I'm like, oh, like I said, like I could have done so much better. Or just customer service and quality. I feel like those are values that people do appreciate. Like, I feel like in the wedding industry or just wedding vendors in general, a lot of the times they don't treat the customer like they care. It's very like in and out transaction.
Yeah.
And I feel like clients like to feel like we care. And I know like in wedding season, it's kind of hard because you have so many on the pipeline and so many coming ahead. And it does get hard, but I really try for them to feel like, I'm giving you my all and I'm going to give you my all. Yeah. And I've always been so reliable. Like, if I say that I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. Yeah. I show up. Like, I'm not going to ghost you. I'm not going to just leave you on red. And I feel that clients see that. Like, another thing that I feel is that many times they care about the artistry and what you did, but they'll remember more how you made them feel. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Susy was so nice, or she felt like she was my sister or my cousin, or you
mentioned like, oh, you're not gonna make a client feel like you're not gonna show up, because I have been to some weddings where the makeup artist shows up either late or they don't show up, and they scrambling to get someone new, and I just feel like that's probably like a feeling that sometimes do people just like they go based off the referral, like Google reviews or like Instagram. What do you tell clients to kind of look at? Hey, like.
So I don't necessarily tell them, but I do work really hard on my social media presence. Like, I try not to stay just active on Instagram because, yes, people are going to see your work. Yeah. Maybe you're going to grab some leads. But I feel that people do their homework before they actually make a decision on who they're going to hire. Yeah. They do a lot of window shopping, which is totally okay. And I feel like they're going to stalk the vendor for a long time before they decide to inquire or reach out. Yeah. So I try to have my, Google review account active and up to date, my Yelp, and my Instagram too. And I try to share reviews all the time on my stories so that I feel that in order for them to become a client, they first have to trust you. Yeah. Keyword trust.
Especially if you're not referred by anybody.
Yes. So I feel that a lot of my business also comes from being very active on my Google reviews, on my Yelp reviews, getting those reviews in so that they know, okay, she's going to show up. Like, I have all these people saying that she's reliable, that she's going to be there, that she made them feel good. So I feel like that's where.
Yeah. And I asked you only that question because I actually just spoke to a bride yesterday that she told me, my videographer, he's ghosted me for 6 months. Oh my God. Luckily, her wedding's not to a while, but still, it's like my videographer, we gave him the deposit, he ghosted us, and I went onto the profile and I noticed that there's a lot of brides commenting on his page, like, hey, where's my video? Or like, hey, I'm trying to reach you. Oh, anyways, it's just like I always tell him, you know what? I spoke to her sincerely. I'm very straightforward, very transparent with all my clients. Like, you know what, look at my Google reviews, look at my Instagram, look at, all the stuff, do some research on me and you'll see that, I'm all about my reputation. I'm like, this is what feeds me. This is what I care about, my reputation. This is what I plan on doing for years to come. And it's like, I'm not going to ruin it by just taking your money and just leaving, so.
Exactly.
So that kind of.
And I feel like as a customer too, it's really smart for them to look up reviews on Google or Yelp because think about it. If I was a client and I'm leaving a negative review on their Instagram page, you have the power to just delete the comment, and people would never know your experience
Yeah.
with me. So I feel that Google and Yelp just hit a little different because I have no way of controlling those
Yeah.
reviews. And like you said, I've heard many horror stories about like beauty vendors that didn't show up or
Yeah.
canceled few days or hours, and it makes me feel so bad for my bride.
Yeah. And they look forward to this special day, and it just for it to
Yes.
start off like that, it's just like
Yes.
it must be devastating.
Yes.
So I like definitely love the responses on that. What challenges have you faced and overcome throughout, growing your business and maybe like you trying to charge more, or what challenges do you feel like you've faced and overcome?
I feel some of the challenges as a creative, and I feel like most creatives go through that. It's feeling that you're not good enough or that you're kind of stuck. You're not growing, not liking your work. So those seasons of like self-doubt are kind of hard, but it's always like a roller coaster. There's momentums where you feel like, I'm so good, I love my work.
Yeah.
And then there's times where like, people are paying me for this.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's showing up
Yeah.
even when you don't feel like you're good enough.
Yeah.
It's what's gonna take, consistency is what's gonna take
Yeah.
your career to the next level. Like, maybe I don't believe in me, but I'm still showing up like I do, and it will pay off. It will eventually pay off.
Do you feel scared every time you raise your prices and you're like, are people gonna really pay me this much?
I did for a very long time. Very long time. I'm telling you, like $5 per year. That was my raise for like 10 years. But I feel like once I took that big jump,
Yeah.
man, I wish I would have done that so many years ago, because I realized, and I would get told this many times by other different vendors, of like, once you raise your prices to a certain point, the quality of the client is just different, because it's people that value what you do. It's people that value your work. And even if they don't have that budget per se to hire you, they'll make it happen because they want you to do their wedding or their event. So I noticed that by doing that big increase in charge, I was getting more people and more people willing to pay my price. It was just really weird how it worked. And it got to a point where I got so busy with motherhood and being a stay-at-home mom and working that I remember, I think it was like 2 years ago, I was like, I want to take a year off because I feel so burned out. Like, I've been working so much. And I said, I'm going to raise them so much so that I don't get booked. That was my train of thought. And to my surprise, I was getting booked left and right. And it was an eye-opening moment for me, like, wait, so people were willing to pay this much? I was just not confident enough to charge this much. And that's where I'm at, like,
No,
it's crazy.
and crazy. I mean, still to this day, I raise if I feel like it's like I took a seminar class one time, and he kind of explained what the best way to kind of price yourself, like price yourself, set a goal of how many clients you want to book. If you reach that goal or exceed it, that means you're charging too low, and you could charge more. If you're not exceeding that amount, that means that you probably need to drop your prices.
Right.
So definitely that was a good way of me, kind of deciding, am I going to raise my prices this upcoming year, or am I going to keep them the same?
Right. Like sometimes, like, you cannot even, back then I couldn't keep up with inquiries. I was already booked, because see, the thing with me, it's like, if they get married on a certain date, they need me that certain date. It's not like, oh, I'm already booked, but I can take you this other Saturday. Like, if I cannot take them that day at that time, I already lost a client.
Yeah.
So, I was getting so many inquiries, and it was like, oh, I'm already booked. And even by me raising the prices, and I've heard that same thing where, like, if you're still getting way too many inquiries and you're telling them, I'm booked, maybe it's a sign that the demand is so high that maybe it's time to raise them again.
Yeah.
And it just makes sense. Why would you want to work more and get paid less when you can work less and get paid more and provide a lot more quality?
How far in advance would you say you get booked for weddings?
Personally, I don't like to book more than a year in advance. So I feel like the max it's like a year. Like I already have right now it's September. I already have weddings for October next year.
Yeah.
But that's pushing it. And just yesterday I got an inquiry for like January 2025.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, I haven't even no, because I'm a mom. I don't know where I'm gonna be. I don't know where my kids are gonna be
Yeah.
a year and months from now. But yeah, I want to say 6
Yeah.
months to a year. It's usually
Oh,
when
okay.
I book.
No,
Mhm.
I only ask because I have that I feel like sometimes clients a year or less sometimes.
Yes.
And you know what? Sometimes it's for me at some years when I raise my prices, it's a little bit scary. I raise them, and I'm like, man, I'm not getting like no inquiries, and all of a sudden 1 month like 5 or 10 of them,
Yes. Yes.
and then the next month slow, and then the next month
Yes.
20, and it's like
Yes.
it's almost like I feel like just for video though. I think this relates more to video. I feel like there were one of the last vendors to get booked. It's almost like a luxury.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost like a luxury to have video. People always book the photography, makeup artist a must, venue, flowers, all those things are a must. But I would say about 70% of the time, like we're about the last ones that get booked, and
I never knew that. That's a shame. Cause
yeah, that's the way it is. And sometimes I feel like people hire me, like I'm like, why is it like they're like people are not booking me because I'm too expensive, and all of a sudden, bam, I'm like, okay, never mind. I was just
yeah.
tripping. It's
Yes.
just like people are just waiting like last minute sometimes
Yes.
to book me,
Yes.
and obviously I still ended up exceeding the more uh 30, 40 plus weddings a year,
Yeah.
and I'm always happy that
Of course.
I
Yeah.
achieved that. What has been your best and worst experience? I would say maybe your best experience, with your clients, and worst
Mhm.
might have been, not so great experience with being in the industry. What would you say?
I feel like my best experience in general, just speaking in general for the 15 years that I've done it, it's the impact that I'm able to have on a bride on her wedding day or just a client that maybe it's not feeling so confident, because that's the reason why it started with makeup to begin with. Like me feeling so self-conscious, not pretty enough, not good enough. And then,
Yeah.
like I said, I would put on the makeup and feel. So if I'm able to give that to someone else, like it just fills my soul with so much happiness, and being able to do what I do as a creative, my passion, what I love, and
Yeah.
make a living out of it. It's such a blessing to me. It's
Yeah.
such a blessing. So that's the good about my career.
Yeah.
The no so good, it's sometimes, like I said, feeling like you're not good enough, or seeing, nowadays with social media that we're scrolling and seeing
Yeah.
all these other artists, and you're like, man, like they're so good. Like maybe you're feeling that you're great, and then you start scrolling and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not that great,
Yeah.
So
It
like I thought I
happens.
was so good, never mind. So I mean, that is hard. Or sometimes when you feel in your heart like you gave
Yeah.
your 100%, and no matter what you do, the client's not happy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but I
Yeah.
feel like with experience, you learn that not every client it's for you, and no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy, and you just have to accept it, and just know in your heart, I always say, as long as you know in your heart
Yeah.
you gave your 100%, there's nothing you could have done differently. No matter what you did, that client wasn't going to like it.
Yeah.
Like she already
Well,
made up her mind that she's not
well,
going to like it.
what mistake do you feel like some of those clients make? They just didn't hire. Like, would you say different makeup artists do different styles?
Absolutely.
Like more smoky eye or like whatever.
Absolutely.
So would you say that client really just didn't do her research
Homework.
on the homework
Yes.
on the type of style that you give, or you do?
Absolutely, yes. And see, the thing is, because I do specialize in the wedding industry, usually the bride is the one that hires me, which means most likely I'm the bride's style. That's why she hired me. But
Yeah.
I'm perhaps not the style of the bridesmaid or the mom. So that's when it gets a little tricky, see?
Yeah.
Because I'm the bride's preference, but maybe not everyone else's preference.
okay.
And so I feel that's what happens. Or I've always said, if you're craving Mexican food, you're not going to go to a Chinese restaurant or vice versa. So I
Yeah.
always say, do the research. There's no right or wrong way of doing makeup. Just find the makeup artist that resonates with you. Not
Yeah.
only the way they do makeup, but the way they carry themselves, the way they are. Like
Yeah.
you want to feel connected in both ways. Like, is
Yeah.
there art what I'm envisioning for my day?
Yeah.
Is their vibe and their energy what I'm envisioning for my day?
Yeah.
Then go with that.
Okay. And I could relate to that based on what you said. I've had where the grooms hire me.
Yes.
Most of the time it's the brides that hire me.
Yes.
But times the groom gives that they get that role. Hey, you take care of video, maybe I'll take care of photo or whatever it is. And groom was very happy with his work, with the work. The bride not so much. It's almost like she wanted something like more very old school. I feel like some clients, the one things they do complain about videos, they want like more of this, more of that. And it's almost like I sent the sample out, to the groom. Maybe the bride didn't see it, but it's almost like they become unhappy of it. But at the end of the day, it's like she didn't take the time to look at what I delivered. The groom did, because he's the one who hired me. And
Yes.
and I get it. Some of these, you're booking so many vendors. It's hard to keep up maybe
Of
with
course.
everyone. So, that's kind of the way I could relate to it.
Yes, yes. And I feel like even though we do something very different, again, we're both creatives, and you have the way of editing or doing
Yeah.
things, and so do I with my makeup. And I
Yeah.
feel like if you have 10 videographers, you're going to get 10 different videos out of the same wedding.
Yeah.
And so with makeup artists. And it doesn't mean that, these people it's wrong, these people it's right. It's just they're creating art differently. So
Yeah.
find the person when it comes to photos, when it comes to video, makeup, hair,
Yeah.
that fits your aesthetic, your vision.
Yeah. And what about, so maybe something that you can relate to me. I see. So clients hire me for my style. They're
Yeah.
not kind of tell me how to. Well, they could give me like, hey, maybe replace this clip with that.
Yeah.
Maybe that person I don't want in my video. But it's almost like I seen some videographers out there, and it's almost like the client tells them how they want the video.
Yes.
And it's like, can you relate to that? Like clients trying to tell you how to do their makeup when it's like
Yes.
they're hiring you for your style, not to do it like J-Lo's makeup or whatever it
Yes.
is. Do you come across that challenge with clients?
Yes, usually when I'm doing their makeup, they'll be like, I do my brows like this. And like literally step by step of what I'm doing, they'll tell me how they do it or how they want it done. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, like I'm doing it. Even if I wanted to do it like you, I can't. And I want to believe that there's a reason why you hired me, because you did your homework and you like what I do. Or when they bring inspo pictures. I was just talking about it on my social media. They bring a super perfect model with poreless skin. And usually these shots are shot with professional photographers, professional lighting, professional editing. So I'm dealing with a real customer that has texture, that has fine lines, which we all do. So even if I wanted to copy and paste the look that you brought me, it's not going to come out the same. And sometimes they are disappointed, and they'll keep bringing the picture out like
Yeah.
reference, like, why doesn't it look like this? Like, look, but because I'm not the makeup artist that did that makeup. You're not the model
Yeah.
on that picture. And this is not a professional set. And it's
Yeah.
just, we cannot copy and paste even if we wanted to. So we
Yeah.
do come across, but I feel staying honest
Yeah.
is going to take you a long way. I never like to give like fake promises of like, I'm going to deliver that or I'm going to give you that. I'm very straightforward. Like, for example, if I have a mature client that it's probably 60, 70 years old and
Yeah.
she's showing me like a 15-year-old with a cut crease,
Mm-hmm.
I'll explain to them. A lot of it's education. You got to educate the client. Like, they don't know any better.
Yeah.
But we do. So explain to them, like, look, she's 15, so we're able to do that on her because she's 15. But on you, I can do this instead. You don't have to make them feel bad, like, I can't do this on
No,
you.
yeah,
'cause
and
you're
of course
60.
you can. It's almost like you just kind of
Educate them.
work
Yeah.
around it,
Or like,
yeah.
but I'll make something that will make you look beautiful,
Yeah.
feel beautiful. Like, I got you.
Yeah, no, and you know what's the way I could relate to it is that like for example, like clients ask me like, oh, can we use like a song that we want, and I'm like, well, just to let you know, if you use a song that you like, your video is gonna be like everyone else's video, because say like you want to use like a popular Banda MS song.
Yes.
He's like, do you know how many wedding videos there is with that one? Like, do you want your video to look unique, or do you
Yeah.
want it to look like everyone else's?
Yeah.
And kind of, I give my way of explaining to why I do it the way they do. I'm like, okay, I understand, makes sense.
And for the most part, they listen.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
do for the most part. Yes, they
Yes.
all listen once I explain to that. So usually I don't have too many issues with that anymore. But definitely with the starting up clients, when when like we were talking about it, once you reach that peak of a certain price,
Yeah.
those type of clients don't really mess. They let you do what you do,
Yes.
and that's it.
Because they trust you. That's why
Yeah.
they're willing to pay the price or to hire you, because they're like, oh my gosh, I love his work. Like, I just trust that he's going to do his thing.
Yeah, it's almost like peace of mind.
Yes.
Clients, they want peace of mind, and when you give them
Yes.
peace of mind, and especially though just you talking, and they could feel the experience in your
Yes.
voice, and the knowledge is almost like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. I
Yes.
don't need to worry about it. Here's my money.
Yes.
You know what to do with.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so
yes. I agree.
what do you feel goes unnoticed, like, and what I think we kind of covered this already, but we're just getting straight to the point.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this all over, but what do you feel goes unnoticed by your clients, like, but what you do, I think I saw you on a post that, like, they don't see the travel. You
Yes.
mentioned like a travel post, and I
Yes,
saw
yes,
that,
yes.
and I remember I looked at it and you got a lot of views on it. So
Yes.
would that fall into that category?
And that was only like 10% of the behind the scenes of stuff that they don't see.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that 90% of what I do goes unnoticed, and they only see the makeup application.
Yeah.
The 1 hour makeup application, to them, it's what they're paying for. And I can honestly tell you that I'm on the other side, that makeup application was only 10% of what everything that went into it. So
Yeah.
usually, let's say I have a wedding on Saturday. Friday night, forget about it. You spend 3-4 hours cleaning your kit, because you gotta clean, sanitize, wash your brushes,
Prep.
stuck up. Fridays are non-existent. Then you get the Saturday morning. Let's say I have to be there at 7. That means I woke up at 5 to give myself an hour to get ready, to pack my kit, to load my kit,
Yeah.
to drive to location. That's assuming that's within a 30-minute drive. Sometimes I drive 2-3 hours to location. Then you get to location, unload, sit up, and then you're on your feet like 6-7 hours, no breaks, then drive back home.
Yeah.
And also, I know it has nothing to do with the makeup application, but in order for me to run my business, get clients, generate leads, I gotta promote myself on social media. I gotta create content. I gotta reply to inquiries, even if I'm booked, because I don't want clients to feel like I'm just ignoring them. Like, oh, I'm booked, I don't care for your message. I take the time to, like, I'm sorry, thank you for inquiring, but I already have a wedding that day. So there's a lot of back and forth with inquiries, with current brides, because remember, I book 6 months to a year in advance. So I have a lot of brides in the pipeline that are constantly reaching out with questions, or coordinators, and I have to reply to all that. Stuck in my kit. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. No, that comes into mind of something that I was recently going through, that I had a client. He's like, oh, I have this project that I want to shoot. Can we set up a meeting and everything? And I'm like, I told him, we could set up a meeting, once we get, feel like I'm the right fit for you.
Of course.
We could set up a deposit, and then we could have the meeting, because I'm not going to really waste my time with having this meeting, whether I don't even know if you're going to hire me or not.
Absolutely.
So it's little things like that I kind of, unless I really get a good sense, like, I already know, okay, this client, they're going to hire me. They just want to meet me in person, have some questions. But off the bat, I'm very like, hey, like, my time is important. I'm not going to make this meeting with you unless I know that we're going to work.
It's going to lead to something.
Yeah.
Because I've had inquiry. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened where we're back and forth, like at least 10 emails of questions, which I understand. Like, you have questions, I'm there to answer them. But then after the thread of God knows how many emails, they're like, okay, so the last step for me to hire you would be to do a Zoom call or a FaceTime call, so that we can answer any questions that I may have or you may have for us. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm a stay-at-home mom with 2 little kids. I never have the luxury of making a call or taking a call, because my kids are there with me. And do I really want to take the time to FaceTime a client when I do makeup? In my head, I'm thinking, well, I have plenty of pictures and videos of what I do on social media. I have plenty of reviews on Google and Yelp, and we've been going back and forth. What is it that we got to talk about through video? And it's not really that, one, like I said, I don't have the luxury of time.
Yeah.
But why would I need to have a meeting with you?
Yeah.
Or there was another time where they asked me, we were close to doing the booking, and she said, do you have time to do a Zoom call with me and the bridesmaids? So she wanted me to meet via Zoom with 5 people. And in my head, I'm thinking, for what? Like, I felt in my head, on my side, it felt almost as in, I need to prove myself. It was almost like an interview with 5 people, like a panel of like, this is what you should hire me. And I don't know if 19-year-old Susy would have done it, but 34-year-old Susy, mom of 2, is for sure not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to sit on a Zoom call with 5 people to convince you of hiring me. Like, I'm a makeup artist, for God's sake. Like, you're not doing a commitment of a venue or... You know what I mean?
How is it that you kind of... What did you tell them?
So I'm very polite. I'm very good at proving my point without just being professional. And I said something along the lines of like, thank you so much for your interest in my work. Unfortunately, I'm a stay-at-home mom of my 2 kids that are 4 years old and 2 years old. And I don't have the time right now to commit to a Zoom call or a call at this moment. But here are some recommendations that may have the time to do so. Thank you for your time. So translation,
Did she hire you?
No. Like, they just see the message, and it's almost like me declining the gig, like, I don't want to do a Zoom
Yeah,
call.
no,
like,
because that already is a sign of a headache. I experienced that too with this client. He calls me and he says, call me. And I'm like, I don't, usually if clients just call me directly without emailing me or texting me, it's like not a good time, but like, you know what?
It's going to be a needy client.
A friend referred them. Okay, cool. I'll take the call. I was on the phone with him for like an hour.
Yes.
And I felt like it was very unnecessary to have that conversation.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I didn't even fit his budget.
Yeah.
And he wanted to have a meeting. And I'm like, well, let me get the deposit going. Let me send you an invoice. And he didn't sound too serious about it. So I never sent it to him. So I figured he's not serious about hiring me. So
Yes.
It's just that those are the type of things that I've come across. We got a few more real quick. What is it like working with other makeup artists? You mentioned that at times you're in a room and you got like multiple makeup artists working on. Obviously, you can't work on a whole bridal party at times. So
yes.
How is it like? Is it challenging, or is there ever any kind of type of conflict?
I don't think it's a conflict. I feel like back in the days, the beauty industry was a lot more catty when it came to fellow makeup artists. You felt this sense of like competition per se, but I feel like now with social media, I mean, you still get those like not so nice moments, but I feel for the most part we've become a community where we support each other, and we understand that nobody's gonna take a client for someone else. Like, there's clients for everybody, and that as opposed to seeing you as my competition, to me it's like, no, you're my fellow artist. Like, if anything, we go through the same things. Like, we gotta support each other. So I try to make it a point where I show up into a room, if there's already a makeup artist, like I say hi, good morning, introduce myself, so that there's not this tension of like, oh, like there's another makeup artist, or like a competition of like, let's see who does better. No, we're gonna do different, and we're both great. Like, I'm cheering for you, and I want you to cheer for me, and let's just make these girls feel great. And if I don't do hair, but whenever I show up and they have their hair done, I always try to go out of my way to compliment people. Like, I love your hair, I love your dress, I love, like, that's what you're hired for. Yes, to do makeup, but we're like their fairy godmothers, like in the morning of, you know, like, so working with other people lately has been great. Because like I said, the beauty industry has felt more like a community. Where we're not worried about who's doing better or who's booking more gigs. Like, I'm truly not worried about what the neighbor is doing, because I want them to do good. Because I know nobody's getting on my way of my own clients. It's like, my clients come to me because they like what I do, they like what I provide, and so do they.
And I agree with you on setting the tone when you get in there. I mean, as a videographer, I always try to show up, smiling, good morning, how you, everybody doing, and just kind of set that vibe. I'm easy, I'm approachable, you can work with me, and that's it. Not as funny as other photographers, videographers. I wish I was a funny guy, but I'm very, very straightforward, professional, and I try to make people feel very welcome. To me, at least. So we're last question that I have for you. You know what you being in the industry and all the knowledge that you've had. What advice would you give to future brides that are looking to hire makeup artists, or work with you, or work within with the makeup artist?
So I would say to not leave the glam team for last, because you were sharing how with video it happens sometimes. You'll be
Yeah.
surprised. Sometimes people are reaching out the month of their wedding.
Yeah.
And by that time, I've been booked for a year or,
Yeah.
a long time ago. So just don't leave it for last, because how you look will impact how you move.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, if you feel good, you walk differently, you
Yeah.
move differently. And that's going to translate on
Yeah.
your videos, on your photos. You feel confident. So the glam team, it's very, very important. So don't waiting until
Yeah.
last minute, and doing your homework,
Yeah.
making sure that you go through their portfolio, you see their work, you can identify yourself with their what you see on their Instagram you
Yeah.
like, as opposed to, seeing another artist and hire someone else because
Yeah.
they were cheaper, and trying to have
That
that cheaper option.
do your work.
It's not gonna happen. Or the other way around.
Yeah.
Maybe they hire me because I was a cheaper option. Like, who knows,
Yeah.
And then they bring like someone that was more. It happens all the time. It's
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So if you're hiring artist A, you better believe that they're gonna deliver artist A work.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot replicate someone else's work. So
Yeah.
that doing their homework of their style, and doing the homework of reviews, because I've heard horror stories
Yeah.
of a lot of, and it embarrasses me because I'm in the beauty industry, of like
Yeah.
people ghosting brides or not showing up or not being reliable, and try to look for those reviews to see what
Yeah.
other brides have to say, so that you have a good artist, a reliable artist that is
Yeah.
just gonna be there for you.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. That's great knowledge for. What would you say for someone? I know this is something that we me and my girlfriend, our fiance I should say, we go to Mexico,
Yeah.
and she has a challenge with at times we have a lot of family with us, so there's always weddings, and obviously if when it comes a time that we get married, we want to do it in Mexico.
Yeah.
What advice would you kind of give to her in the sense of finding a makeup artist like in Mexico, because she's found some, it wasn't too much of what she wanted.
Yes.
What would you say in the sense of if she wanted to find a vendor out there in Mexico?
So I had actually a bride that I did a few years ago, and her sister-in-law was going to get married in Mexico.
Yeah.
And she said, Susie, like, how much do you think a makeup artist from Mexico should charge? Because I'm getting different prices, and they just seem a lot, like,
Yeah.
especially to be in Mexico. And I said, what's a lot? She sent me like 5 different quotes of makeup artists in Mexico.
Yeah.
This is in Merida. And it was like $15,000
Wow.
minimum. And I'm thinking, 15,000 minimum. And I looked up these makeup artists because I was very curious. I was like,
Yeah.
how are you charging $15,000 in Mexico to do just makeup?
Hey.
And of course they do celebrities. They built a name for yourselves. And
Yeah.
at that point you're paying for the name to say
Yeah.
that. I mean, is it worth it? I mean, is it worth it to you? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, everybody's going to see value in different things. So maybe it
Yeah.
is worth it to you to pay $15,000 to say, so-and-so did my makeup.
Yeah.
So with that said, I don't know where you're getting married, but I would say personally, don't hire someone just to say that so-and-so did your
Yeah.
makeup. More find the artist again
Yeah.
that fits your style and your vision.
Yeah.
And if you don't find a stylist, and if it's like a touristy place, maybe it's cheaper to fly like an LA artist,
Yeah.
to Mexico and have them do your
Yeah.
makeup.
Or
Because if you're here, you can do a trial and be like, okay, it's not
yeah.
my
That's
style.
the thing. So yeah, that would be the other case. Hey, you have a makeup artist that you love here, just fly them out.
Yeah.
Fly
I
them out,
mean-
and that's the case that some people have done. I know. It wasn't a makeup artist, but I know my brother got married in Hawaii,
Yes.
and he's like, you know what, we want a really good DJ, so they paid for a DJ here to fly over there because that's what they value,
Right.
the music.
Of
So-
course.
So depending on what you value, you're gonna take
Of
it with
course,
you.
of course.
So
And depending on the prices that you get,
yeah,
it might make more sense to just fly them out.
yeah,
Unless
Yeah.
she's able to get a trial. But I would say if she's going to hire indeed someone from Mexico, I would make it happen some way somehow to get a trial before she
Yeah.
commits, because
Yeah.
the last thing you want is to,
yeah. The day
if
of
she's
it.
not sold on, yeah.
Yeah. So that would be the ideal way to do it. Just
Yeah.
a lot of trials and
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
she likes. Okay, good. Glad to hear. Well, Susie, thank you. We're
course.
about wrapping it up. So before we end this, where can our fellow viewers find you at on Instagram or Facebook or so forth?
So usually I go by Bella Boumois. So it's Bella, Bella, Boomua. And that's where you can find me on Instagram. And I don't use TikTok or Facebook much, but
Yeah.
Instagram has
Okay.
been my thing.
Okay.
I cannot catch up to all these
Yeah.
different apps, but
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard to keep up. Even me, I have struggled with it, but I try as much as I can.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you, Susie. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you.
watching us, and look forward to sharing some more content. Thank you.